Trump's tariffs have kicked in. Well, to help make sense of this development and its effect on global economy, I have joining me from London business analyst Michael Porter. Michael, glad to have you join me.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me this evening.
Yeah, good evening to you. Trump claims that millions of dollars will start flowing into America. Is it as straightforward as he claims?
Not as quite straightforward as he claims. He has declared that billions of dollars are flowing into the US just before the president's tariffs went into effect, which started from Wednesday, 1 minute after midnight last night. Trump doubled down on his trade war last week, unveiling new rates between 10% and 41% on goods from more than 90 countries across the world. So, you know, a major initiative coming from the US and Donald Trump. Last month, the US government collected almost 30 billion US dollars in tariff revenue, according to the Treasury Department, a 242% increase compared to July 2024. So, you know, significant amounts of money coming in, according to the Treasury. However, some economists are more skeptical, warning that levies have rattled the financial markets around the world. The NASDAQ, the FTSE have all been rattled. And this could leave US consumers leaving to take on the brunt of the higher costs of all of this. Trump has also added that, billions of dollars, largely from countries that have taken advantage of the USA for many years, laughing all the way, as he puts it, will now start flowing into the US.
Exports, by the reason of this tariffs, will be less competitive and more expensive. But where does that leave the American who consumes these products?
Well, that's a good question. It's a very, very good question, because it's not all roses in the garden, I'm afraid. The effects of these tariffs on the USA could possibly push up prices for USA consumers. For example, buying a car from the EU has become more expensive for US citizens. The average price of a European-made vehicle car is about 50,000 US dollars, which is up significantly on last year. Tariffs on EU cars, for example, imported into the US, will go up by around about 15%. So clearly, the cost is going to be on the US citizen. If we look at GDP across the US and inflation, currently inflation in the US is standing at about 2.67%. That was up from 2.35% last month. So already inflation is creeping. If we look at gross domestic product, 2.8% in 2024, it's down 2.9%, in 2023, and it's now down at 2.8% last year, 2024. So there's a slight decrease there in GDP. So the US consumers are likely to bear the costs of tariffs as companies pass on increased prices through the markets.
Companies in America are warning of the effects this will have on production and, of course, the overflowing effect. Speak to that.
Yeah, well, the effect is going to be quite significant, both in and outside the USA. And I think the question was, can this be stopped? Can this be stopped? Can some sort of left-wing court ruling state that Donald Trump has extended his authority, and can these tariffs come to a halt? Well, in all honesty, it's unlikely to happen. With the Republicans having the majority in the Senate and their influence there, and also their representation and influence at Supreme Court level. So there's no injunction is likely to succeed against Trump's tariffs agenda. So it's going to be here for a while. Nothing's going to stop it at the moment, I'm afraid.
listen to Trump's quote, he said the only thing that can stop America's greatness will be a radical left court that wants to see our country fail. The courts will determine whether Trump has exceeded his authority. What I hear you say is that this may not, may go in favor of Trump. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
No, what I'm saying is it will go in the favor of Trump because you know the Republicans have a large majority in the Senate. You know that the Democrats or other left-wing parties are unlikely to make any changes there. And also, even if it starts at the district court and goes up to the Supreme Court level, the Republicans have more seats in the Supreme Court than the other parties. So any legal objection to Trump's tariffs is likely to fail.
Deepinder Royal, CEO of Eternal, says India, I'm quoting him, he says India should collectively decide to become the world's most unapologetic superpower amid threat and tariff. What have been some of these nations' responses?
Well, you know, some countries are being taxed 10%, some 20%. But, you know, if we look at Brazil and India that you've just mentioned, the tariff rates for India and Brazil are at 50%, very significant tariff rates. And, you know, India has got 20 days to avoid the 50% Trump tariffs. Trump has given the Indian government up till the 27th of August to look at the way that they're operating at the moment. He's penalising India for purchasing Russian oil, and this is a move which India has called unfair. And the tariffs that Trump has set on India aim to cut Russian oil revenues and force a ceasefire with Ukraine. This is why Donald Trump is putting a high tariff on the Indian economy, because he wants to stop India buying Russian oil in a nutshell. And almost all of India's 886.5 billion in annual goods exports to the US stand to become commercially unviable if these rates remain. I mean, 50% tariff rates, it's going to be very, very difficult to buy and sell, and a lot of Indian companies are not, you know, they're not going to make it. So most Indian exporters can barely absorb 10 to 15% rise in tariffs, let alone 50%. So the key question here is whether India will abandon trade ties with Russia or stand firm against the USA.
See how that plays on, and I think that Narendra Modi just visited the White House. Thank you so much, business analyst Michael Porter, for being on The World.